How we doing, everybody, and welcome in to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is Thursday, already Thursday, a fantastic Thursday. Finally, right? Finally, the past couple days, no rain. No rain, as they tell us right now, right? As they say that, it's probably going to start downpouring outside. You can't avoid it. They're talking rain over the weekend. Can't avoid it there. But as of right now, no rain. Looks like the weather is going to be fantastic today, and that is good stuff. That is good stuff. We deserve it. As much rain and, severe weather that has went around over the past couple weeks, we deserve this. We deserve a nice couple days here before it rains again. Finally, around central Wisconsin, finally saw some of the farmers getting out in the fields. That's always good to see. A little bit behind, a lot behind right now. So hopefully we can, pray and ask for a little bit of dry weather here for a couple weeks. And then, you know what, after the fields are all planted and maybe we get first hay off, then maybe we could talk about a little bit more rain, right? Then we can talk about a little bit more rain. But with that, I got lots I want to get into today. And the number one thing that I want to talk about, and no, it's not the Pirates right away. Tuning into the Pirates broadcast last night, the first thing you saw was Gen Z's new power couple. And they showed a side-by-side picture of Livy Dunne and Paul Skeens. Now, if you don't know what Paul Skeens is, he is the new phenom coming up through the minor league rankings, their pitcher for the Pirates, and he's been pitching very well, but they put on their TikTok followers and their Instagram followers and their Twitter followers, and it's like, who cares? Who cares? Why are we showing this? This is Major League Baseball. I don't care about Livy Dunne and Paul Skeens and how many followers they have on every single thing. I mean, we could start off every episode, right? We could start off every episode throwing it out there. That'd be something, right? I mean, just think about you tune into ESPN, and the first thing they tell you is, hey, we're up to 1.5 million people following the Instagram page. We'd be like, who cares? Get to the sports. Get to the sports here, or whatever the heck we're going to talk about, whatever nonsense Stephen A. Smith's going to throw at us today, right? I mean, let's just get to it. But no, that's not the nonsense and everything I want to get to today. The thing I want to talk about today, first off, is something that I've seen around Twitter, around Facebook, a lot of people talking about it. I wanted to get my opinion out there on it, and I also asked you guys. I asked the people out there what you guys thought of this, and I wanted to give your replies on the show here. So that's what I'm going to do today to start it off. I asked in all reality, and this was the question I asked out there to everybody, and I just want to see what everybody thought. I said, question to everybody out there, and I'd love to use your reply in tomorrow's episode. I said, who ticked you off most ending up at a rival? Craig Counsell or Brett Favre? Who was the one, right? Because Brett Favre, though he did not end up at a rival right away after leaving Green Bay, he ended up with the Jets after the trade, and then he went back and ended up with Minnesota, most likely to stick it to Green Bay, right? I mean, that was the thinking of the entire process. Craig Counsell, the Brewers offered him big dollars, right? As far as we know, the Brewers wanted to make him the highest paid manager in baseball. It's just the Cubs swung a little bit higher. And Craig Counsell ended up there. And, well, I mean, that in its own right, I really felt like, Craig Counsell's whole ordeal was one last FU to Mark Ananasio and the Brewers. That's what I took out of the Craig Counsell to Chicago. Because, I mean, I look at it like this, the Mets could have offered Craig Counsell a good amount, right? David Stearns is out there already. He's already worked with Craig. He knows what he's getting with Craig. I feel like that would have been a good matchup, right? And I don't think as many people would have been that upset about that. It's just the fact of the Cubs kind of just swung in there. They offered top dollar. Craig took top dollar. And when he left, he kind of, in his own way, and I can't remember if he said it word for word in that press conference or not, said it was like a dream job. It was like a dream job. Now, if anything in the whole entire scenario is going to tick you off a little bit, it's that right there. You're talking about a Wisconsin guy, Craig Counsell, a Wisconsin guy. Your dream job should have been managing the Brewers, hopefully making it to a World Series with the Brewers, but managing the Brewers and staying with the Brewers as long as you could. Now, I know a lot of people didn't want Craig Counsell to stay. There was a long line of people, just like we talk about the Greg Gard line of people to get him fired. There was a long line of people who wanted Craig Counsell gone. So I'm not saying that a lot of people were, upset that Craig Counsell was leaving. I think the biggest thing is that he was going to Chicago. That he had this variety of jobs out there, and he ended up in Chicago, one of the teams that it's not like the Brewers, Farve, was half in, half out, and the Packers didn't want him. That was the big thing, is the Packers didn't want Brett Favre. So when they traded Brett Favre, and Brett Favre ended up back with the Vikings to basically give the Packers one last kick in the pants, right? And I really, you want to dislike Favre for that, but, the Packers didn't want him anymore. So he took his services elsewhere. And, played pretty well with Minnesota when he was there. Ended up in that NFC Championship game, a doorstep away from the Super Bowl. If not for Sean Payton and the Saints, we might be talking about a Vikings team with possibly a ring. Now, am I saying that would have happened? Maybe it wouldn't have, right? Maybe it wouldn't have. But, in the hypothetical sense, it could have happened. Now, Craig Counsell going to the Cubs. The Brewers wanted Craig Counsell back. They made that abundantly clear. Now, unless if something happened behind closed doors that we didn't hear about, it really, trips a trigger there to say that it was just basically one last, kind of screw you to the Milwaukee Brewers going to the Chicago Cubs. A stab in the back. Honestly, that's how a lot of fans felt about it, was a stab in the back. Going to a division rival and then basically making it seem like you didn't think that would cause some controversy or, fans to get upset with you or fans to dislike what you did. You had to see it coming. If Craig Counsell can sit there and he's like, I didn't expect this, dude, you had to know this was going to happen. You're talking about a fan base who doesn't get a lot, right? They don't get a lot. We don't spend a lot of money. We don't win pennants, right? We win the division. We play competitive baseball. I'm not saying this team's a pushover in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is that this fan base is it's a lot of loyalty, right? Ryan Braun, loyal to the Brewers. Christian Yelich, he could have went out and got massive dollar. He took a little bit less. Now he still makes good money. I'm not going to say he doesn't make good money, but he took a little bit less in that contract to stay in Milwaukee, right? And, a team like that kind of relies on guys like that. So when it came down to it, we thought Craig Counsell was this big, loyal guy to the Brewers. He was going into that free agency period in the offseason, and you kind of just expected the Brewers to make him a deal, and he would just say, you know what, I'm coming back to Milwaukee, and that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case there with Craig Counsell. So, it really puts into question then Craig Counsell's motives. Like I said before, his motives in this entire thing, and what was the end goal of it? Was it to become this high-paid guy? Was that the ultimate goal, was to make all this money and not really care about what you had to do to get it, right? Basically destroy a friendship, or not a friendship, but, to your fans. The guys, the fans who believed in you a little bit, right? Some fans didn't, right? But some fans believed in Craig, that Craig could eventually get the Brewers over the hump. Now it changes, right? He leaves. He walks out the door. He ends up in Chicago. It's a different, it was, I tell you what, I remember hearing that. And the first thing I did was I texted one of my father-in-law. I texted him. We always talk Brewers, and I texted him, and he goes, no way. First thing he says, no way, no way, no way. And I was like, serious? And he's like, no, it's got to be a joke. I was like, serious? I said, go look at it right now. And he looked it up, and he's like, oh, my. Right? It was just one of those moments where you didn't expect it. You didn't expect it, and it was kind of just a mind-boggling, like, it was hard to grasp what the heck was going on. Like, no way he's heading to Chicago. And, yep, that's what happened. So, like I said, I jumped out, reached out, and I wanted to hear what everybody had to say. So, I had a lot of replies. First reply came from Chris Meyer there. He said, Counsell sold out, Favre was forced out. 100%. 100% agree with you there. Craig, he sold out. He was money, money, money. I need more money. I need guys who will spend money. So I go to Chicago because he knows he can get top dollar as a manager and the Cubs will spend money for him. That was the big motive there. I 100% agree with that one there. Jamie Warshko, he says, come on, man, it's Favre. And he really emphasized the Favre there. He really emphasized all caps there. All caps. He throw a couple exclamation points behind it there. You're really letting them know. I don't want to say that Favre isn't, we all know it was a motive of Favre to get back to Minnesota to ultimately go beat up the Packers, right? It was a motive of him. So I can see when people say that Favre was, the one that ticked him off the most, ending up with the, a division rival, one of your biggest rivals, right? So I can definitely see that one. Ryan Larson, he said, Counsell, not even close. By the end of Favre's time in Green Bay, I was over all the retiring and unretiring nonsense. Craig grew up a Wisconsin guy, and for him to call the Chicago job his dream job is just a massive slap in the face. And at the end of the day, I don't even think it has anything to do with that. He wanted more money and ownership with deeper pockets, willing to spend more on players. 100% agree. 100% agree with that take. Craig Counsell, like I said, he wanted the big payday. But he also wanted an owner who is going to spend money, who is going to put money out there to try and sign top guys. And that's what he got in Chicago. He wanted that. He didn't want to play the game anymore in Milwaukee where he had to manage games and he had to give it his all every single game to try and put the best product out there and make it work, right? He didn't want that anymore. He ended up in Chicago where he thinks he can just throw a lineup out there and it's going to work. And like we're seeing right now in Chicago, not the case because they are slumping at the plates right now. So I 100% agree with you there, Ryan. Counsell, he was a stab. It was a stab in the back. A stab in the back, and his motives were money and an owner who's going to spend money on him. But also, I would add to the end of that there, sticking it to the Brewers, right? Sticking it to the Brewers. Just like Favre had to get back to Minnesota to stick it to the Packers, this was a stick to the Brewers right there. Wendy Darling, she said, Counsell F him. That's bold, Wendy. That's bold. I'm, right. F that guy, right? That's what a lot of fans are saying right now. So, Counsell, that is, Wendy, I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to say you're wrong. We have a couple other ones here. Peggy Sue Baelish, she said Counsell. Counsell right there. That's all she had to say was it was Counsell, and you could fill in the words at the end of that. And then Jeff Soldner, he came out and he said Brett Favre. Brett Favre was Brett's there. So we have a couple for Counsell there, and we have a couple for Favre. That's going to jump into our next one there. Jim Kirsch, he said Counsell. Not Counsell. He said Favre. Sorry about that. I saw the next one there right next to it. My mistake there. Jim Kirsch, he said Favre. Favre was his biggest one to tick him off there. Philip Ursick, he said Counsell there. And then we had Aaron and Adamzak. He said Brett. It's Brent, but I'm going to go with Brett there. Nicholas Eggleston said Favre by a mile. I don't give a rip about what his face anymore, but Favre in that purple jersey beating us on Monday night, that crap hurt. I got to agree with you there. As a Packer fan, to see Brett Favre go, to see Brett Favre go to Minnesota, but then also beat Green Bay. That was like the biggest kick to the nards you can ever have, right? You basically force this guy out, and then he comes back and he kicks your pants off on Monday night on the grand stage, right? That's a big kick in the pants there. Valerie Maldonado. Maybe she's related to Martine Maldonado there. I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that one, but Counsell for sure, she says. Paul Pierdon, he says Counsell. Farve always had a little D-bag in him. I was blindsided by CC. Literally any other team but the Scrubs. That's what I agree. That was the biggest thing with Craig Counsell was that he ended up with the Cubs, right? That was the biggest thing, was that he ended up with the Chicago Cubs. I think that's what hurt the most in that entire thing. So Tom Watson, he said neither. Don't live in the past. Negative energy brings you down. Packers and Brewers are looking good. I agree. Packers and Brewers are looking good. I'm not, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Both teams are looking good in their current states, so I'm not going to say that you are wrong in your statement there. It was just a question. I just wanted to know who ticked you off more by leaving, right? Or by ended up, with a rival. Was it Brett Favre or Craig Counsell? I don't disagree with you on your statement there. Like, don't live in the past, right? Neither of them affect you. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. I just want to know where people were at with both of them and which one kind of shocked them or ticked them off a little bit when it happened. So Brent Braun, he says Counsell for sure. And Donald R. Groff, he says Bert. I'm going to go with Brett. I'm going to go with Brett for Bert. Bert sounds like Brett. Maybe it's Bert and Ernie. I don't know. Maybe Bert and Ernie ticked this guy off. I don't know. I'm just kidding there. But Donald, he says Brett there with the last one. Arthur Healy said Counsell did growing up in Wisconsin and to go and manage a team from Illinois, especially the Scrubs. That's just unbelievable. I know. I couldn't believe it. Like I was saying there, I could not believe it. It was the most surprising thing that could have came out of it was that he ended up in Chicago. So I completely agree with you there. Keith Kressel says, neither stung. I'm a fan of the team. When a player leaves, who cares? I guess that's one way to look at it. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, yeah, like, Brewer fans, when Craig Counsell left, it's not like we stopped cheering for the Brewers, unless you're a Craig Counsell fan. And that was it. You might have stopped cheering for the Brewers, I guess. But, I mean, I can completely see what you're saying there. Troy Riley, he says Counsell. Farve wasn't from here and didn't play with the Bears. I mean, yeah, if Farve would have ended up with the Bears, that would have been one. I mean, I think I would have hated Farve a little bit then. I think I would have hated Farve. I'm not a big Farve hater, right? And I can see why people might hate him a little bit or dislike him a little bit. I was never a big Farve hater, right? In the whole thing, just because it wasn't like it was his choice to go to the Jets first. And then, I mean, he ended up in Minnesota. I get that, where people get irritated with that. But I can't say that I'm the biggest Favre hater. So, but if he would have ended up in Chicago, I think I would have changed my story there. Joe Nabak, he said, honestly, Counsell. Favre stung for sure, but he was in and out and didn't go to a rival right away. His time with us was done. We reached for the mountaintop with him. Nothing more for him to do. Counsell, on the other hand, was a Wisconsin guy who dreamt of playing here and coaching here. He got us to the playoffs and never finished the deal just to go to our biggest rival immediately. I think that's, like I said, that's the biggest thing that stung. That is the biggest thing that stung. Was that he went to a rival, and it's not like he wasn't winning in Milwaukee, right? I would understand if the Brewers were just, this atrocious team who nobody realistically respected, and nobody said that this team had potential at points throughout the year. He had teams that ended up, NLCS, NLDS, in the wild card games, whatever it was, division championships. He's been there. Right? It's just he couldn't get over that hump. So now is that part of the reason? You can't get over the hump playing like this. So now I want to go to a team who's going to spend all this money and maybe then I can get over the hump. I don't know about that one. But I love the comment there, Joe. And then we saw Brian Page. He said Farve, he was more important to the organization by far. I can see where you're coming from, in that, just because Pat, it was such an easy shoe-in on the backside of the Craig Counsell leaving to have Pat Murphy basically just step in. Just basically step in and take the role. So, yeah, I mean, I can see at the time the move for Craig Counsell leaving over Brett Favre being traded. You could see it, but it was kind of like the Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers thing, right? Jordan Love, maybe he wasn't ready, maybe he was. At the time, Aaron Rodgers did he have value to the Packers? Yes and no, right? Yes and no. But I can see, I can see where your point is there, Brian. So, I can see with that one. Todd Pava, you know what? Anybody who I butchered your name in this, I am sorry. I am sorry. If you've listened to the show long enough, I suck with names. Todd Pavlowski. That has got to be close. That has got to be close there. He said Aaron Jones. I did not give a third option, but I should have put option C, whoever you wish, because Aaron Jones, I could see that one. I could see that one ticking a lot of people off because yes, the Packers basically said, dude, we don't need you anymore. We made this move for Josh Jacobs. You're basically unneeded now. We're not going to pay you much. We're going to ask you to take a cut again. Like, I can see where, people might say Aaron Jones. I can also see where people would say, like, hey, Aaron Jones was kind of in the same boat as Brett Favre, where he was kind of just, we're not going to pay you. Basically just get out, but also on the flip side of that, he ended up in Minnesota, which that's a real kick to the nards. That is an FU to Green Bay. If there was any one of these moves, like I was saying there, that was trying to stick it to the Packers, Aaron Jones is right there with Brett Favre. Aaron Jones is right there with Brett Favre and Craig Counsell. Like, that is, I completely agree with you there, Todd. I completely agree. And, he went on to say, there's no reason to be upset at all. Murphy has them in first place. If you're going to be ticked off at anyone, it should be at Mark A for being cheap. I can see that statement too, just simply because, like I said before there, Craig Counsell ended up with Chicago, but, part of it was the dollar that he was being paid, but also I believe part of it was, I don't think Craig Counsell thought he could manage this team over the NLCS like he did. He got him to the NLCS once. I don't think he thought, I can get this team to that point again or over that hump with an owner who won't spend money for me. So I'm going to go take all this money and I'm going to get an owner who will spend money on top players, and maybe then I can get over the hump. So I can see exactly what you're saying there, Todd, on that one by even throwing some shade over there at Mark A there. So, and then I had a lot of other ones. Counsell, Jeff Wetzel, he said Counsell. Scott Bowers said Counsell there. Draven Williams said Counsell because he went to Chicago. Dennis Day Jr. said, I wouldn't say either really ticked me off, and that could be because I'm from Illinois, but I feel like it would have hurt less if Craig Counsell would have went to maybe a team like the Mets. I could see that too. Like I said, it was the thing that he went to the Cubs that really irritated you. Tim Krause, he said Counsell. Farve didn't jump straight to a rival. Counsell did. Farve isn't a lifelong Wisconsinite. Counsell is. I can see that one too. Like we were talking about before with those other ones. Farve got traded to the Jets first. Then he came back to Minnesota to stick it to the Packers. And, rightfully so. If you got traded because they didn't believe that they needed your services and they thought this guy was better than you would want nothing more than go back and kick that guy's pants. So I can completely see that one there. Outside of that, we had a couple other ones. Jason Reiner, he said Counsell. Eric Skell said Favre when he went to the Queens. I cheered for him as a Jet. Donald Josart said Favre for sure. He jerked the Packers around with his retirement BS, then was looking for revenge. Counsell just got a much better offer. You could see that flip of the coin too. You could see that flip of the coin where Counsell got a better offer from the Cubs. He has a better setup with the Cubs, I guess, money spending wise, whereas Favre just kind of toyed around with the Packers long enough they got irritated. Lawrence Barazini said it's close, but I think I'd have to go with Counsell. Doug Smith said Favre. Donovan Fechner sounds right with that one. Says Favre there. Eric Skell said Oh, and Kathy Chloe Eckers said, definitely Favre. I'm very embarrassed by our fans' booing of Counsell. Get over it. The reason Favre was worse is all the waffling and crying and then going to the Vikings. But I never would boo them. It's business and a heck of a lot of money. Go Crew, and by the way, go Perkins. This was last night there, so she was just cheering on Blake Perkins having a spectacular game there. But, I mean, I can see exactly where you're coming from, too. You know, Favre was a kind of I'm retiring, I'm not retiring, you know, and then whining when the Packers did end up getting rid of him. I can see definitely where you're coming from with that one. So lots of replies on that one. Lots of replies. I just wanted to thank everyone for reaching out and giving opinions on that. And if I didn't get to yours, I mean, stay tuned on the Facebook page, Wisconsin Sports on the Go Trade. I love to get shout outs to people because I love, you know, the greatest thing about Wisconsin sports and Wisconsin sports fans is I love their opinions. I love their opinions, good, bad, or ugly, or terrible. I love their opinions because everyone's opinion matters. And I love to get them out there to people because I love to have, you know, love to let other people have a voice out there within a show or whatever it is. I know there's bigger, you know, broadcasts and everything like that where you could get your name out there and in your opinions, but I love to give them when I can to here on the show. So with that, before we move on here, I want to get to more. We got to the Brett Favre, Counsell ordeal. That took a little bit of the time there, but I want to get to a lot more today. First, I got to get to some sponsors of the show here quick. I got to get some sponsors here. First, Game Day Supply in Alaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Alaska to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Also, Marshfield Motor Speedways, located just 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. You got to get down to the track this summer. Tons of family fun for all ages. Great food, great drinks, great atmosphere. Nothing better than sitting down there at the racetrack and catching some fantastic racing. So, Marshfield Motor Speedways, find the schedule online or on Facebook. Just search Marshfield Motor Speedways. Otherwise, stay tuned on my Facebook page, Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trades. When they share a post, I share a post. I share the schedule for them out there and make sure to keep everybody up to date because there is nothing better than a fantastic day at the track. Your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy Sawyer Anna to find your dream home or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield. Also, Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, Wisconsin. Sports Scenes, sports cards, and memorabilia, located in the Marshfield Mall in Marshfield, Wisconsin. You got to get down there for all your sporting needs, whether it's baseball, hobby sporting needs, whether it's baseball cards, memorabilia of any kind, plaques, jerseys, model stock cards. If you need some card sleeves, whatever it is, talk to Al down there. He can get you, if he doesn't have it at the store, he will help you find it. Get down there, Sports Scene in the Marshfield Mall. Talk to Al. He is, fantastic at what he does. Very knowledgeable. He can get you what you're looking for. And also Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. If you've been injured recently, I know we got some nice weather. Maybe you've decided to go for a walk for the first time in a while and you felt something pop. And you think you need some physical therapy, get in there to Greenwood and see Chad at Sport and Spine Clinic. He will get you right. He'll get you back out there, back walking better than ever. He'll get you back there. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin there. But with that, we got to get to Game 3. We had Game 3 of the Brewers and Cubs. That was last night there, and you know what? This is the only thing that I could think. The Brewers go against a guy in Ben Brown the night before, and Ben Brown was dealing, right? We know that. He was dealing, but he's a younger guy, and he has had moments where he struggled this year. Game 3 was the one I was worried about. We're going to be facing against Imanaga in that game. He has been lights out this year. He was 5-0 going into that game. The ERA was under 1. The Brewers just walked in and said, well, welcome to American Family Field. Here's the service charge, and we're just going to kick your pants off, right? And that's what we saw in this when the Brewers' bats got hot early. We saw Joey Ortiz in that leadoff spot. He leads off the game, or leads off that bottom half of that first inning with a double. And then we see Contreras, he got out, but then Yelich, a 2-run shot. First pitch fastball. He wasn't messing around. He said, welcome to the league. Welcome to the NL Central, and welcome to American Family Field. This is how we do it. Christian Yelich with a big bomb. A no doubt bomb on the first pitch to right center. That started the scoring for the Brewers. The Cubs would get one back. They got one back there in that top of the second inning on an Ian Happ home run. But then the Brewers, they bounced back after that. In the bottom of the third inning, it's like the floodgates opened once again. Willie Adames scored Joey Ortiz there, and then Christian Yelich ended up scoring later on there on a Gary Sanchez double. Willie Adames came around and scored. And then we saw Blake Perkins, who was already having a fantastic game. If you want to talk about a guy who had a fantastic night at the ballpark, Blake freaking Perkins. That is his new name because, my goodness, this guy looks so nonchalant. Like, I'm just jogging around. I'm not really showing any emotion, and I'm just going to rob a home run. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to lay out on the warning track and just run a ball down, dive, catch. Blake Perkins is, there's a lot of good defensive outfielders in the league. Blake Perkins might be on that list. He might very well be on that list. This guy makes some very, tough plays look routine. We talk about Bryce Terang all the time. We talk about, some of the better defenders on the Brewers. Put some respect on Blake Perkins' name. This is a guy you could compare to like a Mike Cameron, like a Lorenzo Cain kind of guy. That's Blake Perkins right now. This guy plays on a different level out there in the outfield. I always questioned, I'm not going to lie, I've questioned why we have not seen, Sal Frelick in center a little bit more. I'm fine with it now. They knew, Pat Murphy knows. And Pat, I trust now. Dude, you're calling the right number. You're calling the shots, and you're doing a heck of a job with it. I can't go. Excuse me there. I can't complain at all. Blake Perkins has played fantastic defense out in center field. And another guy, while I'm on the topic of defense, another guy who has played fantastic, Joey Ortiz. At third base, a lot of people are against Adames staying in Milwaukee and everything like that, but man, oh man, the infield from second base over to third base right now with Bryce Terang, Willie Adames, and Joey Ortiz in that infield. That is Gold Glove caliber defense. Like, tough to beat it. Tough to beat it with those three guys around the horn there. First base, we've seen Bowers have some good games. We've seen him have some struggling games. He had a little bit of a struggle fest there last night in that game. And we've seen Hoskins struggle a little bit. So first base is kind of up in the air. I think it's solid. It's not great. It's solid. But, you go around the rest of that infield, and that is a dynamite defensive infield. And Willie Adames is starting to hit the ball. So you could look at those three and say those are three good hitters, too, around that infield. And even when Hoskins come back, you could be talking about an infield that could be hitting all above 250, 260, all the way around, adding in William Contreras. And that's not to mention the outfield that has been playing pretty well there with Christian Yelich. And Blake Perkins has been hitting a little bit better as of late. Right field, kind of up in the air. Kind of up in the air with Jackson Churro and Sal Frelick. They've had good games. They've had some struggle fests out there in right field. But, it was great to see Freddie Peralta kind of got on Jackson Churro's case there. Kind of give him that little pep talk in the dugout after 2 nights ago, after he kind of pulled up on a ball, didn't really go after it. And then last night to see him dive, make a catch out there in the outfield, it's like, okay, okay, maybe the talk helped because we've seen a couple times now where Jackson Churro doesn't seem to believe that he can get in there, believe that he can make a catch like that, and he kind of pulls up, and one time it led to a run. Luckily against the Cubs, it didn't actually lead to a run. Now the Brewers did lose that game, but it didn't lead to a run. But we saw him make that play, and that was fantastic. That was a fantastic play by Jackson Churro there, and good to see. I mean, honestly, good to see out of him. And you know what? Hats off, like I said, to Freddie Peralta there, though. I mean, Freddie was a little bit, I don't know if you would say irritated with that, but he just knows that there's more to Jackson Churro than a guy who's going to pull up on a line drive or on a little blooper to the outfield. So I'm glad that a guy stepped up and they said, hey, you know what, dude, I'm not screaming at you. I'm not trying to, put you down. I already know. Like, if that would have, listening to some of the broadcasts last night, if that would have led to a run in that inning, maybe, Jackson Churro's in a different state of mind then. But Freddie's just like, hey, dude, let's get after it. Don't pull up. Give it all. Give us your all, and we can't be ticked off. We can't be ticked off if you give us your all unless you, do something stupid. But I mean, like I said, hats off to him there. Did it, honestly, they talked about Imanaga, and his last start was pushed back. Did it affect him being off for so long? Possibly did. I mean, possibly affected him to the point where he was out of rhythm going into that game, because you're talking about a guy with sub-1 ERA and a 5-0 record leading up into that one. And basically, in that month of May, gave up 2 runs in total. Basically untouchable there. And to go into a game against the Brewers, and the Brewers just say, here, dude, I mean, here's 7 runs. Try and work with that. I mean, we saw it with Sonny Gray. When Sonny Gray came into American Family Field, and he was sitting there with, if it wasn't a little bit above 1, it was below 1 ERA, and he hadn't given up a home run or anything like that. And the Brewers just, basically launched a long ball on him all night. So, did it affect him? Maybe, but that's the blame on Craig Counsell then, and Brewer fans will love that. Blame that baby on Craig Counsell for, pushing that start back so far. He did have the rain delay start, but then you could have started him the next day. They decided to basically save him for the Brewers-Cubs series that was coming up. So, that's all on him there. That's all on Craig Counsell and, the way that he decided to go over that. So, looking at the box for the Brewers in this one, Joey Ortiz hit well in the leadoff spot, 2 for 3, has that average sitting at 280 right now. He drew a walk in that game. Dynamite stuff in the leadoff spot. Contreras 1 for 4 on the game, scored a run. Good to see Contreras with that solid hit there. Christian Yelich 2 for 4 on the game there with 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored. He had that big home run for the Brewers there early, that 2-run shot. Willie Adames 2 for 3 in this game with a walk, 2 runs scored, and 3 RBIs in this one. Fantastic if they can get Willie Adames going at a consistent rate with, home run ball there for him later in this game here in the bottom of the 7th. But if they can get Willie Adames hitting at a consistent clip, this is going to be a scary lineup. This could be a very scary lineup that the Brewers are rolling out there. He's hitting 255 right now, right? Willie Adames hitting 255 right now. Looking at those last 10 games, you look at the last 10 games, they don't rate it last 10. They rate it last 7 games. He's hitting 385 over the last 7 games there. Over the last 15, he's hitting 246 there. So, on the uprise is Willie Adames there. And I like the 3 walks to 5 strikeout right there for him. He's a guy who chases a little bit, so to see him drawing some walks there, pretty close in the ratio of walks to strikeouts there over the last 7. Hopefully that means he's starting to see the baseball better a little bit there. Gary Sanchez, 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs, a big 2-run double there for Sanchez. Bowers has a rough game for the Brewers, 0 for 4 in this one. Blake Perkins, have a day. Have a day. Blake Perkins, 2 for 4 in this game. 1 run scored, 2 RBIs. He had a big home run there for the Brewers in this one. And, you had a home run. You had the home run robbery. You had the diving catch. Can you name a better day? Can you name a better day for Blake Perkins? I mean, this game was the Blake Perkins game, and it was fantastic. Love to see it out of Blake Perkins there. He's got that average up to 232 right now. I mean, not where he was sitting at one point this year, but you talk about the last 7 games, 227, but the last 15 games, 256. So hopefully on the uprise here for Blake, he starts to get on a little bit of a burner once again there. Bryce Wilson started it for the Brewers there. Oh, I forgot to mention, this was a great game for the Brewers. 2 strikeouts in this game in total with 2 walks. That's crazy simply because Imanaga, he's a guy who's going to get you out. And this is a high strikeout guy. We're talking in 10 games, he's got 59 strikeouts. This guy strikes out a lot of batters. So see the Brewers stat line there with 2 strikes and 2 walks in this game. Love it. Love to see it. And what I love even more is when you look across the board, 10 runs, 10 hits, and 10 RBIs. There ain't nothing better looking at that. There ain't nothing better to look at that, especially when you see a 10-6 score there against the Cubs. But like I said, Bryce Wilson, 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs on 4 runs scored, 2 walks, 1 strikeout, a home run given up. Jared Canning in 2 innings of work, 1 hit, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. And then Paredes continues to shine in his young little career here with the Brewers. 1 inning pitch there, 1 strikeout for him. And then Mitch White late, 2 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs scored against him. 1 of them was earned. The error by Bowers, the little blooper down the line, it's like, he was kind of in a spot where it didn't really matter. The Brewers still had the lead. But would you love to see Mitch White get through it a little bit easier? Yeah, but it was just a couple of tough blows there. The little pop-up down the line that got down between Yelich and Joey Ortiz, and then the great play by Ortiz and the miscue by Bowers at first. It was, just one of them innings. One of them innings where it's going to happen, but it was good to see Mitch White work out of that there, and, a solid day. A solid day at the office there for the Brewers, and you can't beat it. 10-6 was the final in that one there. So that sets up the finale of the series. The Brewers lead the series 2-1, going for a series win here today against the Cubs. That'll be a 12-10 start for that one. Brewers Cubs, you can find it on Bally Sports Wisconsin. If you're in Chicago area, you can find it on the Marquee Sports Network. Otherwise, it will be on MLB Network if you get the MLB Network and that deal. Otherwise, if you're like me and you're going to be at work, you're going to have to listen to it on the radio, WTMJ 620, or the Brewers Radio Network there. Or maybe you took a day off, you're heading down to the ballpark to catch some afternoon baseball down there at American Family Field. It's going to be a beautiful day. Can't beat some tailgating down there on a fantastic Thursday there in Milwaukee. But, the pitching matchup, Colin Ray going against Jamison Talon. We got Colin Ray coming to this one 4-2 with 3.98 ERA. Jamison Talon, looking at his last game out there against St. Louis, he went 5 2/3, 9 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 strikeouts in that one. Game before that, 4 2/3, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's been struggling as of late. He has been struggling as of late here. This is a game where we want to see the Brewers, like we saw against Imanaga, jump on Jamison Talon early, be aggressive in counts, jump on good pitches, and make this just a blowout fashion. Take the Cubs out one more time before we don't see them for a while, and then we welcome the White Sox to town. So with that, that's about all I got for today. I wanted to get to the Fresh on the Farm report. We're not going to get to it today. We ran a little bit long there, talking about the Craig Counsell, Brett Favre debate, talking about the Brewers. We ran a little bit long. I want to get to it tomorrow here on the show. We'll preview the weekend. We'll talk about the minor league system. We'll see what the heck else is going on in Wisconsin sports, because there's a lot of stuff going on, right? We got Doug Gottlieb now coaching the Green Bay Phoenix. So, there's lots of good stuff happening all around Wisconsin sports right now. It's just a matter of where you want to look and what the heck is going on in Wisconsin sports. So, with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. I'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river I have held the devil's hand, felt the weight of my own sin, burdened by the heart of man. Down to the river, down to the river.